Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Childers. I'm a grad student like the rest of you here at Alabama. I'm going to be teaching something today that I am extremely passionate about. I'm a sports talk radio host. That's my normal job. I'm in my early 40s, and I've been working for SiriusXM now for the last 20 or so years. Yeah, I guess I started January 3rd, 2005. So we're getting pretty close to 20 years. So, anyway, something I wanted to teach you about is something that I think gets overlooked so much in the radio business, in the podcasting world, in the creation world. And that's how to put together a compelling show, how to make something make sense, how to make it all kind of fit together. And to take one topic and to be able, like, for example, in a sports talk radio world, it might be a little bit different than a podcast, but I got 3 hours of programming to fill every single day. So, in order to do that, I might talk about three, four topics a day, but I've got to carve out, I got to take one topic and find all kinds of different ways to talk about it. For example, like the OJ Simpson thing that happened last week. You can talk about it from a variety of different perspectives, from his past as a football player to what happened with his wife, Nicole, the tragedy, post OJ. There's a lot of different ways that you can go to kind of fill up a radio program or a podcast. So, when I was in school 20 something years ago, I never really was taught how to do radio. I never got a clear indication of, this is how you organize things. So I feel if there's one thing that people should know that want to go into radio, it's this. And what this is the sports radio broadcast topic tree. And this can be used for anything. This can be used for any subject, any radio show, any podcast, anything. I mean, it could be a lifestyle show or entertainment or whatever, but I'll hold it up here. And this is an example of a topic tree. And what I did, I used, you'll see some of the examples that I play, but I used Chris Buescher, who is a NASCAR driver for Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. And I happen to do a radio show with them every single week on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. We just started it this year, our new NASCAR show with RFK. And the first show we did was coming out of the Daytona 500. So my goal in this hour-long radio show with Chris, and Chris was with me the whole time, was to take Daytona and find a bunch of different ways to talk about it for an hour. So the way that I did that was with this sports talk radio tree. And obviously, the first thing that we would start talking about, I'd introduce the show, and then I would go immediately into he finished in 18th place out of 40 cars. Didn't exactly have the weekend that he wanted. Why did that happen? So I'm going to play you a little example right now. Again, take a look. I put it here on the example, and I would hand these out, to everybody if we were in class. But finished 18th place. Why? So you're going to hear a little bit of an example from my radio show Backstretch Banner on me addressing that. Daytona to get to the end in Phoenix. But Chris, it is great to have you on this first episode. We just went through Daytona, P18 for you. Brad got banged up in the big one, so he didn't finish it. He was 33rd, and Reagan was in there and competitive the entire race. He was right behind you at number 20. It's Daytona. It's crazy. We get it. Now that it's over and there's so much buildup, how you feeling about things?
Slightly disappointed in the end result, but like you said, that's a lot of Daytona and what we know can happen there. We've been very fortunate to go down there and have really fast race cars and be able to have good decision making and a little bit of luck on our side. There's an amount of luck that has to go into that style of racing, and I was making jokes about it actually this past week that you don't have no luck. You either have good luck or bad luck. No one had no luck, and it's got to go one way for you, but you have to set yourself up as best you can to. All right, so that's a little taste of what happened in Daytona, and Chris's background and what happened throughout the race, and some of the trends that went on, and obviously if you were listening to the show, you'd get a bigger explanation from Buescher, but that gives you a little taste of what I'm talking about. So again, starting with this, and the whole point of this is you want to take a subject, like again, Chris Buescher is the subject here, and it's post Daytona, and you want to talk about all kinds of different things, right? All kinds of different ways to take this one subject and make it interesting.
So, for example, you see I put, he finished 18th place. He happened to have a baby during the weekend. He had to go home, and then he came back to Daytona. You'll hear a little bit about that. They won 3 races last year. Did they feel pressure going into Daytona? They have a great relationship. You can see, I think, right here. Right here. But with Fastenal, which has been a really important sponsor for them. So there's a lot of different ways to look at the race and kind of break it down. And that way you're not talking about the same thing over and over and over again. So again, I'll get to an example, and I'll point to it on this deal. But there was a lot of pack racing, right? I write here, why was Daytona heavy with pack racing? If you don't know what pack racing is, that's when cars kind of jumble up together and they're kind of drafting off of one another, and they're not really racing. They're not really engaging in competitive racing. They're trying to save fuel. And in Daytona, we had a lot of this, and it was complained about by not only the drivers, but the fans thought it was boring. I guess 5 seconds a lap were taken off the speeds. So I wanted to know why, and I thought that was another interesting way to really discuss what happened in Daytona. So take a listen to this example, and again, we're just using the Daytona 500, and we're finding different ways to make it interesting to, cover an entire show. And, what you would do in a normal radio show, you'd use sound to kind of accompany this, and, all kinds of different elements to make it interesting. But take a listen to when I engaged with him about the pack racing element at the Daytona 500.
So why did that happen yesterday? Like you said, there was a lot of pack racing. There was a lot of fuel saving. There was a lot of Fords with Fords and Toyotas with Toyotas and Chevys with Chevy. Was that premeditated ahead of time when you guys were in, your Ford meeting, or was that just something that kind of naturally happened?
Yeah, it's something that's been discussed through several years now, and I've seen it probably 6-7 years. Most of my Cup career, there's been these kind of conversations for super speedways, and a lot of it is how do you run through a pit cycle most efficiently as an organization. But you need friends at this style of racing. And so what you do is you get with your manufacturer, those that work with a lot of the same information, and can have those kind of conversations throughout a race event, and you try and work together to find your way to make it better than the others. What that starts as is, hey, let's have a little bit of work together, and help everybody raise the tide and float us all a little bit higher. And where that ends is everybody getting a little greedy and wanting to get selfish on it, and then it turns into sneakiness and some of what you see play out. But I've been a part of 2 different manufacturers through this style, and it's definitely different from both sides. I think we've done a pretty decent job of planning and coming up with different scenarios, and not too.
All right, so again, we've talked about Daytona, and the first thing that I showed you was me asking him what happened. Why did he finish 18th? Then we talked about the race, the pack racing. Now we're going to go into some human interest. And again, using the topic tree, I put right here, he had his second baby with his wife in Daytona. And it was kind of a wild story. He had to go back and forth to Charlotte and go back to Florida. So again, we're taking the one race and we're finding a way to make it interesting. We're finding a way to carve out another interesting storyline to fill the time and make it compelling for an audience. So here's an example of that.
He's got to be dad. He just had his second child last week during all the Daytona craziness. He did the duels, then he left, and then I think David Reagan was doing practice a little bit, doing both the 60 and the 17, and then Chris came back for the race. But Charlie now has a brother. I believe Rhett is the name of your new son. And Chris, congratulations on the new baby, man.
Thank you very much. It was a little bit of a chaotic week, and certainly became the highlight of the Daytona 500 for me. So everything is good. Got to come back home, be there for them, and be able to get settled in back to the house and back to the racetrack real quick. But it's been an amazing amazing time having a ball with Charlie, and can't wait to watch Rhett grow up a little bit and start getting them back to the racetrack and around it a little. I don't know. I don't know yet. I don't know if I want to get them a baseball bat or if they need to be behind the wheel of race cars. I'm scared already because Charlie loves to drive around the farm. So,
Oh, really?
we're in really
Nice.
big trouble already. I'm feeling that.
All right, so now you got a little bit of a taste of what I'm talking about and how useful the topic tree can be. And, the reason I call it a tree, this is the roots in the middle and then all these branches out here. I know it doesn't really look like a tree, but you get the idea. And it is, it's super helpful. It really is. So, and I promise you, if you ever get lost while you're in the middle of a radio show or a podcast or whatever, kaboom, this gets you right back on track. And it really is a great resource for anybody that's trying to do good broadcasting. The next clip I wanted to go to, so you've gotten a little taste, right? You've gotten a little taste of, okay, I asked them about what happened in the race. Then we asked about the strategy with the packs. Now we talked about the baby. But what about what helps the team, right? These teams, if you know anything about NASCAR, it's all about sponsors. Sponsors are huge. They're what make you go. And at Roush Fenway Keselowski with the 17 car Fastenal, which is really a useful sponsor because they deal with tools. They're one of the main suppliers for the team. And I asked Chris, why was this important? Why does this help the team? Again, another way to kind of flesh out the same subject. So take a listen when we talk about his relationship with Fastenal.
Not every race, but most races, when I see the 17, I see Fastenal. I see that brand. I see the association. They've been such a good partner with Roush Fenway Keselowski for so many years, going back to the Roush Fenway days and previous drivers. And there's something about, like, Fastenal is a great brand. For people that don't know what it is, I know so many people that use it for their business. If they need supplies, if they need tools, if they need something in a pitch, Fastenal, there's a gazillion different stores all over the country. They can get it right away. They got what they have, or they got what they need in stock. It really is a great resource. They have been so loyal to the 17. What has that relationship been like for you? And honestly, how supported do you feel with that sponsorship?
No, it's been fantastic. Think about 20 years ago and trying to go short track racing back in Texas, and we were getting a lot of our stuff out of Fastenal stores that you couldn't find from your local hardware place. You had to go find specialty stuff that was better, nicer, lighter, faster, and
Sure.
It's funny how everything comes full circle. But it is amazing that Fastenal has been a part of RFK for more than a decade now, and
All right, so that's it. Hopefully you have an idea. It's not too complicated. Again, this is the Sports Talk radio tree. It really, and again, if I was in person, I would be, photocopying these and handing these out to you so you'd have it in front of you. But this is the tree. And what I want you to do, I just want you to literally try this with anything. With anything. Take any subject. Take, Alabama football with Kalen DeBoer and, break down all the different, nuances of it, or, Nick Saban's retirement or anything. The O.J. Simpson case, again, would be an easy one from last week. But any topic at all, just put the topic at the root and then draw all these trees that would make it interesting. And then I think that would give you a really good roadmap to do a radio show. Now, when you're doing a radio show, you probably want to have 3 or 4 of these a day. You never really want to talk about more than 3 or 4 major subjects. And really, you'll probably boil it down to an A topic that you're going to want to go to most. A good rule of thumb is never be more than 7 minutes away from your A topic. But again, pretty easy. I think it's super helpful. And it's something that I wish I would have had access to when I was younger and just learning in the business. Because I had no idea. I had no idea how to organize a show. I had no idea how to execute any of this stuff. So hopefully this little tool will come in handy. Again, it's the Sports Radio Topic Tree, and I'm Chris Childers. Thank you, everybody, for your attention.